Enroll your child for the manifested e-learning platform and see their grades grow tremendously. These videos can be downloaded to a laptop for offline viewing or viewed from a smartphone in a cost-friendly format.
Hello learners, welcome to our today's science lesson. The topic is food and nutrition. In our last lesson, we were considering the subtopic food preservation. And we say that food preservation is a process of protecting food from going bad. Then I introduced the methods that can be used to preserve food. The methods can be classified into two: traditional methods and modern methods. So far, we have covered the traditional methods, which include smoking, drying, salting, use of honey, and use of ashes. Learners, in our today's lesson, we want to learn how to preserve food using modern methods. Welcome to the lesson. Science lesson. Science. And the topic is food and nutrition. Food and nutrition. So we will be studying in our today's lesson modern methods of food preservation. Modern methods of food preservation. Modern methods of food preservation. Now, learners, modern methods of food preservation or modern methods of preserving food include: 1, canning; 2, use of low temperatures; and C, drying. Those are the main modern methods we are going to learn of preserving food. Modern methods of preserving food include: A, canning; B, use of low temperatures; and drying. C, drying. So let's first study the first method here, canning. Canning. Now, learners, canning is a process of preserving food in sealed tins. In sealed tins. Canning, and to write, is the process of preserving food using sealed tins. Sealed tins. Sealed tins. The food is first heated to a very high temperature. So learners, first of all, food is heated to very high temperature. And the purpose is to kill germs. That high temperature kills germs. It is then put in sealed cans. These are artificial cans to preserve the food that has been heated. A tin, the food is put in a tin. Now, canning prevents the food from coming into contact with germs. Do you understand, learners? First, the food is heated at very high temperature. And the purpose is to do what? To kill the germs. Then that food is put into a tin and is sealed all around. Sealed completely. Okay? And that's canning. That sealing is what we are calling canning. That canning prevents the food from coming into contact with germs because the food is completely covered. It's the same way we do in traditional methods, learners. We use of honey. Food is dipped in honey so that the food is covered in a basket full of honey, immersed in honey, so that that food cannot come into contact with germs or the air. And the foods, learners, that are preserved by canning include fruits, meat, fish, vegetables, okay, and so on. So, learners, canning is the process of preserving food using sealed tins. And I said the food is first heated. Heated at very high temperature. At very high temperature to kill germs. All right? To kill germs. It is then sealed in artificial cans. It is then sealed in artificial cans. Then sealed in artificial cans to preserve it. And these foods, learners, you can find them on supermarket shelves. But before buying such food, it's important to check the expiry dates, because such foods have expiry dates. So make sure when you buy such foods, you do not buy food that the date has expired. Because if you buy food after the expiry date, then that food, there are high chances that the food is bad. So canned food is, like in Kenya here, is bought on in supermarkets. And I'm telling you, in case you would want to buy food that is canned in supermarkets or in shops, make sure you check the expiry date. So learners, let me give examples of foods that can be preserved using canning. Foods that can be preserved using canning include meat, fish, vegetables, fruits, etc. Fruits, etc. So canned foods, learners, I've said, go bad after some time. So it is therefore important to do what? To check the expiry date before buying canned food. Before buying canned food. Let's move on to the next modern method of preserving food, which is use of temperatures. Use of temperatures. B, use of low temperatures. Use of low temperatures. Use of low temperatures. Use of low temperatures. Now, learners, foods food can be preserved by keeping it in place with very low temperatures. And the germs that make food go bad, learners, are not active under low temperatures because germs are animals. So when they are exposed to extremely low temperatures, then they cannot survive. The same way they cannot survive under very hot temperatures. Like in canning, we say that foods are first of all heated. Under canning, foods are heated at very high temperature. The purpose is to kill germs. Now, the same applies to low temperatures. When food is preserved by keeping it in place with very low temperatures, then learners again, germs that make food go bad will not be active under such low temperatures. And we have foods like meat, fish, vegetables, and fruits. These foods can be preserved by storing them under low temperatures. And the methods used, learners, the methods used to preserve foods under low temperatures include, let me first note down that foods can be preserved. I say that food can be preserved. Make sure you put down the notes. Food can be preserved by keeping it in place with very low temperatures. By keeping it in place with very low temperatures. You preserve food by keeping it in place with very low temperatures. Okay? Because learners, the germs that make food go bad are not active. The germs that make food go bad are not active. The germs that make food go bad are not active under low temperatures. Under low temperatures. Under low temperatures. And the methods, learners, the methods that can be used to preserve food under low temperatures, the methods that can be used to keep food under low temperatures include the methods that can be used to keep food under very low temperatures. Learners include one, use of refrigerators. One, use of refrigerators. Use of refrigerators. Now, these are used to store cooked food. You can also use refrigerators to store drinks and also vegetables. Then you have use of deep freezers. Two, use of deep freezers. Use of deep freezers, learners. Deep freezers are used to store food at extremely low temperatures, below 0 degrees centigrade. All right, learners. deep freezers. These are used to do what? To store food at ice cold temperatures. Ice cold temperatures below 0 degrees, known as 0 degrees centigrade. Okay? Now, at this temperature, the foods are said to be frozen. All right? All right? Am I clear on that? The foods, when stored under this method, deep freezers, learners, we say at that point, okay, we call it freezing, all right? Preserving food using deep freezers is called freezing. It's called what? Freezing. Now, deep freezing kills germs, all right? It does what? It kills germs. Now, preserving food, learners, using deep freezers, I've said, is known as freezing. Then, other than refrigerators and deep freezers, we also have another method known as cold rooms. Use of what? Cold rooms. Use of cold rooms. Now, cold rooms, learners, are used to store large amounts of perishable foods, such as meat, fish, vegetables, and so on. So you see, a refrigerator is just a small gadget. Okay, it can be from this point up to the floor. The freezers are also small in size, but cold rooms, these are houses, learners, big house. If you want to store large amounts of food, then you can have them in a cold room, in a big house, all right? And cold rooms are used to store foods like meat in large quantities, fish in large quantities. The cold rooms are used to store food that are meant mainly for commercial purposes. Maybe food has to be exported, or food has been harvested in large quantities and there is no immediate consumption of such food. Right? So, learners, these are methods that can be used to store food under low temperatures. Use of refrigerators, use of deep freezers, use of cold rooms. And I've mentioned the foods that can be preserved by using low temperatures. Foods that can be preserved, food that can be preserved using low temperatures include meat, fish, fruits, vegetables, etc. So, learners, this is a method we are calling use of low temperatures. Then, learners, food can also be preserved under modern method using the drying method. See, drying method. This method, we discussed it under the traditional methods, but it can also be used to store food under the modern methods. Now, drying can also be classified as a modern method of preserving food, because remember, we classified it as a traditional method of classifying food. Drying can also be classified as a modern method of preserving food. And drying learners is under the modern method is used in factories to dry food such as coffee. Okay, saying drying method learners, or drying is used. Drying is used to preserve food in factories. Drying learners is used in factories. Let me say, is used in factories to dry or to preserve food. To preserve food such as coffee, tea, food such as coffee, such as tea leaves, tea leaves. When tea is harvested, we have tea leaves. These tea leaves can be dried, are dried in factories. The same applies to coffee and also even rice, right? Rice can be used, can be dried for preservation in factories and so on. So drying is used in factories. Under the traditional method, we saw that drying is used by exposing food to the sun. But in factories, machines can be used to dry food, like coffee, like tea, like rice, like wheat, and so on. Wheat can also be dried. Factories, because these foods they may need processing in large quantities. So to preserve the food, remember, preserving means protecting food from rotting or going bad. When these crops are harvested, they can be dried for the purposes of preserving them, awaiting processing. So drying is categorized as a modern method as well as a traditional method. Under traditional method, drying method was made possible by use of sun. Food is exposed to sun rays. And when food is exposed to sun rays under the traditional method, the moisture in the food evaporates. Okay, it evaporates. And when that happens, the food is able to be preserved for a long period of time. So these are three main methods of preserving food under the modern method. And learners, that will mark the end of our today's lesson, where we've discussed modern methods of preserving food. I'm now going to give you revision questions. Revision questions. Question 1. Name 3 modern methods of preserving food. Question 2. In factories, drying is used to preserve dash dash and dash. Name the foods that can be preserved in factories. Then number 3, name 3 storage devices that are used to preserve food at low temperatures. Then lastly, name 3 foods that can be preserved using canning. This is your assignment. Learners, when answering the questions, don't refer to your notes. Don't copy directly from the notes. Try and get the answers from your memory. It is only when you are through that you can check if your answers are correct from the notes. So practice, learners, answering questions from your memory and not just copying from your notes. Thank you and God bless you. We will continue to learn more about food preservation in our next lesson. Bye-bye.
Thank you for choosing to study with us. For more information, you can call us on 0724 173845.